not admit it, if you were alive in the 90s, you know her music. She performed for presidents here and abroad, but what can only be called a movement almost didn't happen.
The teacher that was like, you have a really good voice. I would love for you to come try out for the musical that we have. I'm like, first of all, I didn't even know I could sing, but okay, let's roll.
That one break changed everything. But even as the world believed, she still had to be convinced.
People were like, no, you have hooks within hooks. You have a sound that's recognizable. But when you're the singer, you're on the inside looking out. You're not understanding what people hear.
Still touring and changing the industry, 90s icon and dance music superstar CeCe Peniston shares her journey now on The Pulse.
You made your choice and now I'm voicing my opinion to you.
Once again, welcome back to The Pulse. You know what we do here. We're talking to people who have great stories, names and faces that you recognize for any number of reasons. And today, it is a musical star icon. You know you were dancing to her music in the clubs. CeCe Peniston joins us on The Pulse. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. I was telling you before we started, I was muted because we were in here still dancing to a lot of your music. And you said, go with it.
Hey, go with it. That's the most fun. Look, I do that with other people's music. I'm at home like, hey.
Tell us about your break. Like, what got you started? You've been in this since you were like 11.
You know what? Yeah, I started off doing like musicals. I didn't even know I could sing. I was actually in class. You know, I was taking music class. And the teacher that was like, you have a really good voice. I would love for you to come try out for the musical that we have. I'm like, first of all, I didn't even know I could sing. But okay, let's roll. So I went and tried out, got the lead part. And then that kind of started me feeling that energy of being on stage. So that's how it pretty much started from there.
You were still fairly young, like teens-ish, when you got the break to kind of get out on the stage.
Yeah, I was 21 when I got like my big break, but I was doing shows all around Arizona and people started to know me from doing like, they would pay me a little $50, $100. Hey, can you come out sing for the little weekend event? I'm like, yeah, let's get it popping. So we would have... I would do that and make my little school money, my little shoe money. You know what I mean? When you're a kid, you're buying clothes and different stuff. So that's how that kind of all happened. People got to know me, which led to the background vocals of me getting in the studio, which led to me getting my deal for $5.
Okay, so then the background vocals were first. Names that we would be familiar with, or you just were kind of paying dues at that point?
So Marvelous JC, who works also with Quad City DJs, and then Overweight Pooch. Pooch was doing, she was rapping around Arizona, and I did like 3 of her songs. I did the Merry Arizona event too. Like they had a compilation record, Christmas album. And then when I did that, they were like, oh, we love what you do. Why don't you do your own project? I said, all right, I would love to. I have this song. Not sure if you're gonna like it, but here it goes. And it was finally.
So you had that song, you had that back pocket, you know, the song that we're still singing this many years later. That was all you.
I can't say everything was me. I wrote the melody and I wrote the lyrics, and RK and Felipe did the original mix, the first mix that we ever presented. Because I know some people think that the first mix that we presented was a don't, right?
Yeah.
Our mix, don't, right?
Okay.
And I'm a little animated. Forgive me.
That's all right. Do you? That's what we would expect. So you come out with that. That's not all you, because you're humble and sharing. And we'll get to that because there is a larger fight with credits, you know, for who's helping and participating and whatever. So we will talk about that in just a second. But you get that big break. It's out there. And was it like that? Did it increase like that? Because I feel like finally got out there and then there were a series of these hits and then you were just everywhere.
Unexplainable and something I had never experienced, because it was like all of a sudden people were like, hey, Finally's out there. We love Finally. So 6 weeks in, Finally was on the charts, and Finally was on the charts for 33 weeks. And I was like, wow. So in between that being on the charts that way, there were people want to hear more, you got to go in. So within 3 months in between me touring and traveling, they they got the album done. And that's how the album came about. From finally the single, they didn't know what to do with it at first. The R&B department finally loved it. And, because, you know, one of them songs, it's like, we're not sure if it's R&B or if it's dance. It has a nice bass line. So then we went from there and did the album. That's how everything has continued to this day.
And it was a time where the kind of songs were catchy and people were in the clubs, and it was just a fun time to be out there doing that. And I wonder why, you know, if you think that's why it's had such longevity, you know, because it's just the fun, good-natured, we dance to it, and, you know, good memories for people.
I feel like that was just one of those moments where it was like God said, you have something different, which at the time, I didn't understand what that different was. People were like, no, you have hooks within hooks. You have a sound that's recognizable. But when you're the singer, you're on the inside looking out. You're not understanding what people hear. And so when that happened, it was like, all of a sudden, it was this energy when I'd go on stage, right? And all of a sudden I'd sing, yeah, yeah. They'd be like singing it with me, and I'm sitting here, I'm putting my out like, oh, they know it. Okay.
Next on The Pulse, it was the type of meteoric rise we all hear about, and CeCe Peniston, she loved it all.
We traveled from city to city. You almost had to lay your clothes out so you could get to the next city. You know, if you've been out somewhere and had a meet and greet, it was like, okay, get a shower, gotta roll up, y'all, next city. It was exciting. It was fun.